Thanks for stopping by. I am your tsundere streamer who doesn't stream. Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. But welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar Dee Eight, and I got the night off work last night. I'd still technically be at work if I had to work last night, since they shut down work because of the weather, which is definitely probably a good thing, because past couple of days that my back has been spasming a little bit for some reason. So, and it's definitely feeling a bit worse today than it was yesterday. So, hopefully it's completely better by the time I go back to work tomorrow night. So, yay, weather for helping out on that. How's everyone out there doing today? It is January 27th, 6:18 a.m., 2026. My back hurts so fucking much. Just sitting here and I'm like, ow. Cutting through the drizzle as she traversed the runway, Sumidara Kasumi entered the lobby with two black suits as guards. I wonder, could any of the Sumidaras been involved? What happened 12 years ago? The four black suits who had been waiting inside the lobby stood up and respectfully lowered their heads in salute. Is it possible that Kasumi here could have been hidden on the island all those years ago? Kasumi-sama, propeller planes certainly do shake. I wouldn't want to ride one again. We have a car prepared. Please, this way. They got into two luxury cars that had been rented. Angie should be heading for Rakanjima, a deserted island. How convenient. You've arranged for some tools, I take it. Yes, ma'am. The black suit in the passenger seat put a heavy bag that had been set by his feet onto his lap. Opened the catch with a click and showed Kasumi what was inside. Inside were several silver lumps of carefully wrapped aluminum foil. He peeled one open to show her. What I assume that's something to get weapons past a metal detector? Like, I don't know if that would work. I mean, you're shielding with more metal? Like, I don't feel like that's a thing that would work, right? A black, blunt, automatic pistol peeked its face out. My back hurts so much. Like, it's the back sides, like it's the middle of my back at the sides, like where the ribs are. Like, it's like the lower part of the ribs and across the back. It's like the very middle of the back. It was already approaching 10 o'clock at night. By now the typhoon had wrapped itself around Rakanjima. Even the rose garden that had looked so beautiful midday was beaten down upon by the fierce winds that resisted with all its might, undulating and trying to keep the flowers from blowing away. Just checked OBS, I'm double checking it again. Okay. Okay. Just about to need to double check that. Professionalism, what's that? In the rose garden was Shannon in the lead, Battler holding up an umbrella, Jessica and George carrying the sleeping Maria on his back, all heading for the guest house. We can at least make it to the guest house from here. Shannon is fine, you should go back and rest. Don't worry, seeing you off is also part of my duty. The family conference is going on inside, and Mom and Genji-san are probably getting stressed. If we keep you, they'll understand and think you were being lazy. They'll misunderstand. That's right. Just graciously accepting our offer might be the best way to avoid burdening people. Thank you, Shannon. Not at all. Certainly, as my lady has said, it is very tense inside the mansion today. Well, I mean, it can't be that bad. It's not like anyone's going to die. Therefore, coming with all of you allowed me a breath of fresh air, and I've been able to relax a bit. The family conference, huh? They went to all the trouble of chasing us kids out, so they're probably talking about something shady. Probably. I'm sure there's nothing we can do to help out. Just trying to stay out of their way is probably the best way for us to be useful. Heh. I'm sure it's all just money, money, money. Even though they... Ah, God fucking damn it. That hurts. Act like that. They are so rich most of the time. When it gets tough, they all start getting pushy. Why don't they just be graceful and split it evenly between everyone? That'd be awesome. It'd be nice if I got a share too. If I got some too, I'd split it with Shannon Chan right away. But thank you very much. Well, I appreciate the sentiment. Shannon isn't greedy at all. Normally girls of your age would have tons of things they'd want to buy. I guess. But none of the things I want can be bought with money. Ooh, how unselfish. If you lined up all the things I wanted, all the gold in the world wouldn't be enough. That's if you're talking about things that can be bought with money. I wonder what these things that can't be bought with money that Shannon wants are. Do you have any idea, George Nissan? Well, I wonder. I'm not Shannon, so how could I know? I don't know either. George and Shannon looked down, their faces red. Battler had also heard about what was going on with them, so he knew what Jessica was teasing them about. George Aniki is a person I respect. I think you've met up with a really great person, Shannon Chan. Yeah. I also feel relieved that we can leave Shannon to George Nissan. So stop teasing. It's a serious issue for us. More importantly, what about you, Jessica Chan? Have you been able to get a little closer to Cannon-kun? What? So you and Cannon-kun are like that? Well, that's dirty, George. Twisting the conversation around like that's dirty. As they had an animated discussion with ups and downs, the four kids headed for the guest house. The annual family conference was extremely important to the Ushiromiya family, and this year seemed like it was going to be especially important. Apparently, the family head Kinzo was personally going to be making a very serious announcement, and everyone other than the adults had been strictly ordered to leave. Battler hadn't attended a family conference in 6 years, so he didn't really notice, but according to Jessica, they seemed to be very tense atmosphere tonight, completely different from a normal year. Common sense made it clear that Kinzo, whose remaining life was short, was going to make some big announcement about the succession to the headship and the distribution of his fortune. But I'm surprised to think that Grandfather's actually going to make an appearance. I see, so this is the witch's counterattack. Cackle. I wanted to leave the Joker called Kinzo face down a little longer, but it's probably about time to turn it over. Is it really Kinzo or an imposter at this point? Trump cards exist to be used. After all, we've had multiple versions of stories where we actually had your goat person impersonate Cannon after his death. It's like he was completely murdered, and then you had a goat person from Goat World impersonate him. So, the fact of the matter that we have all these extra magical aspects kind of calls things into question, because normally you think with common sense, well, if you meet somebody, it has to be them. The only situation where it might be someone else is if it's like, you know, the CIA with a super fancy prosthetic mask, or maybe the person who's a witness was like drugged, or, you know, a really good impersonator, or a twin, or they were seen from a distance in the dark. But the moment you're like, oh, magic exists and all this shit, and it's like, well, what if it was a magical goat person using a shadow clone jutsu to look like the person? What if Itachi's on the roof using genjutsu? What if the government has a satellite in the sky beaming waves into your head, making you hallucinate? I mean, once we introduce the possibility of really outlandish things, it's like, don't get me wrong, I believe magic and the supernatural exists. I believe in God and ghosts, and for all intents and purposes, I'm pretty sure aliens exist. That doesn't mean that's the go-to explanation anytime something's unexplained. I would still say most things are explained by science. I would say supernatural and magic are still the rarity. But they still exist, they're just not very common. After all, if they were common, wouldn't everybody believe in them? But the main point is once you start introducing, new options like this for explanations, well, things that would have been outlandish to say, like, oh, it's not Kenzo, it's a goat person using magic to look like him. I mean, offhand, you're like, that's, like, really dumb. That's completely impossible. But when you've already set a precedent where that's, actually physically exists earlier in the story, well, now it's a thing. It's kind of, I think it's called fridge horror, or at least something akin to it. Like, fridge horror is like something where, like, you look at, like, something where your first impression of it's like, well, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, and then as you gain additional information, you're like, oh god, that's actually terrifying. For example, Bill Cosby wrote a book where it's just a really close-in picture of Bill Cosby's face with a bunch of roses around his face, and it's Bill Cosby smiling, and the title of the book's Love and Marriage. And the book it's a book written by Bill Cosby about how to have a happy marriage, how to have relationships with women, and how to respect women. And I mean, if all you ever knew of him was, like, from the movies and stuff and TV shows, you'd think that's completely wholesome. But given additional information that eventually came out about Bill Cosby, it kind of puts that in a different light. Or like, it'd be like Willy Wonka, where, like, that one kid gets sucked up the tube in the chocolate river, and you're like, oh, he'll be fine, they'll take care of him later. But then you find out later the chocolate river was actually full of a bunch of chemicals and poisons, and it needed to be filtered because it was mixed in chemicals, and there was, like, it needs to be cleaned before it gets taken out. And that kid was totally torn to shreds. So it's like, that kid is dead, died horribly. Also, that's not really chocolate. It's like that's not chocolate, that's sewage. Or even if it's chocolate, it's like, that gets the raw ingredients of chocolate mixed in a giant thing that now do have the impurities taken out. So, like, what makes you think there isn't, like, lead lining on the concrete that holds the chocolate river? Okay, distracted. Trump cards exist to be used. Cackle. Damn. My theory that grandfather was dead since the beginning and a different 18th person had snuck in is now suddenly torn apart. I had foreseen that you'd begin to doubt Kenzo eventually. Yes, now your reasoning has all gone back to square one again, right? But here's the thing. Is it Kenzo? Is it? In the same regard, who's to say one of the other 18 isn't actually dead at this time and being impersonated? Don't tell me Kairi's been dead this whole time, and her sister Kasumi's been impersonating her. Or like Kasumi's on the island and she's actually pretending to be Beatrice. But then there actually is a Beatrice on the island too. So maybe 2 of the original 18 are actually dead being impersonated. But this is your theory that Kenzo is dead at the very beginning and I was hiding the 18th person goes poof. But we do at least know either this is impersonating Kenzo or someone else. And fuck. But no way I'll lose heart. That's only one theory gone. I'll attack you like a storm, like a tornado. Cackle. I'd have it no other way. Even the first twilight has not yet begun. It is far too early to give up. That's right. And it's not like it was denied with the red truth. At this point in time, Battler's theory hasn't been defeated. It's too early to say that you've won. Yeah, that's right. It's still too early for me to just swallow her story. grandfather is supposed to finally appear, but there's a chance that they'll talk about how his health has gotten worse and he won't appear at all. Uncle Kraus might be trying desperately to hide the fact that grandfather really is dead until the last second. Ha! I see. You could also think of it that way. Do as you please. It will be resolved soon. Very soon. Cackle. Also, I remember seeing a thing, like, before I even started this game, about an Erica Ferude. Obviously a reference to Rika Ferude, but I have no idea how this character is, like, going to be, like, introduced into the story, or where they come from, or what even their nature is. Like, are they a human? Are they a witch? Like, what's going on? Heck, I remember Ava at one point saying that there was a woman that was already supposed to be set up as the perfect woman for George, the one that she considered ideal in every way for George. Maybe Erica Ferude will be the fiancé that Ava wanted to set George up to be her, his wife. But is she a witch as well? Like, what's going on with that? Like, how does she get introduced in this story? Because I know at some point she's going to be present on this island. And I know she gets introduced into episode 4, but that's all I know. I also know apparently the fandom of this game has a very mixed opinion of this person. People either love this person or they hate them. And again, it's the fact that the name is so similar to Rika Ferude. I don't know if there's a connection. Ow! God, fuck. That hurts so much. All of the... Fuck. I accidentally pushed a button. Like to read things. There's the backlog button. All of the relatives in Nanjo could be seen in the dining hall. Nanjo sat alone, quietly watching the wind and rain outside. Ow. Cross sat down in the seat of his own rank, with Natsui standing motionlessly at his side. The other siblings were gathered at the opposite end of the long table, whispering to each other. Is that true? Yes. Maria said the person who gave her the umbrella was father. Okay. That's... Because I remember people were like saying, oh, what if it was... Also, I remember at one point that Kenzo was wanting to name Maria something different, and Rosa disagreed, and Kenzo was pissed at her because she refused to name her daughter the name Kenzo wanted. Is Erica Ferude supposed to be the other name for Maria? I don't know. At that point, it's like... And I know, like, Higarashi's technically a story that exists as a novel in this world. So, does that mean Kenzo's, like, reads visual novels too? Like, what's going on? But I know at one point they were concerned, like, was it father? Like, it was like, no, he would not. He doesn't like her. What in the world? In other words, our strategy has collapsed from the roots. Not just our strategy. Since father is healthy and has said that he'll make an announcement himself, our trivial bargaining with Nissan was completely pointless. Yep. Here's the other thing. It could also be that Beatrice, or whoever it is that's claiming to be Beatrice, told her to say that she got the letter from Kenzo, and while that's technically not the truth, if Beatrice told her to say it, she would lie on Beatrice's behalf. Yep, that old bastard. Why couldn't he just have shown himself right away without making a show of it? Thanks to that, we've just been quarreling with Aniki uselessly. Or maybe he wanted to test us on that point. I still have to say, Kairi looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2, and I think she is very pretty. I also think she looks like Sarai the VTuber, and like Kaoru Nagisa, Kaoru from Evangelion. I might not be one to talk, since we aren't related by blood, but your father is very intelligent, correct? Our arguments during the day were probably overheard by one of the servants and reported to father. Incredible. The fact that we were making a fuss with father's inheritance as our goal is now right in the open. Ah, just incredible. Ava uncharacteristically held her head, dejected. dejected. If, as Kairi had said, everything had been going according to Kenza's plans from the beginning, and if this was a huge setup that had been kept up for over a year trying to find the siblings' true intentions, then they had fallen for it completely. We still don't know for sure that it's reached Father's ears. No, it definitely has. Everyone but Nissan claimed that Father was dead, and none of us believed in Father's good health. It's already over. Father will make an announcement, Nissan will become the successor, and he'll say we aren't even qualified to wear the one wing. Nissan, get a hold of yourself. Rosa-san, I wonder if Maria really received that umbrella from Father. Huh? What do you mean? Maria-chan might have seen Father. However, we haven't seen him. Maria-chan only claims to have seen him. What are you saying? Are you saying Maria's lying? I'm looking directly at Kairi's nipples. Just so we're all clear on that. Calm down, Rosa. Maria-chan didn't necessarily lie. Still, she's an innocent kid, right? For example, if Genji came up to her and said something like, I was told by your grandfather to hand this to you, Maria, then even if Maria-chan hadn't met Dad, she still might say that she got an umbrella from him, right? That's right. That trick could work. But what was it Maria-chan said? Grandfather came and handed me the umbrella. Yes, that's what she said. She clearly said that she received an umbrella directly from Grandfather. Directly, huh? Then we're stuck. They often say that bad thinking is no better than sleeping. If you think about it a bit, all of this about the umbrella is a trivial problem. Why is that? Couldn't Maria-chan have been bribed by Nissan to lie and say something that made it seem like Father was in good health? There is no evidence like Father actually handed the umbrella to her. Regardless of whom Maria-chan received the umbrella from, assuming she was even given an umbrella in the first place, Father will appear very, very soon. Once Father's in front of us, the problem with the umbrella becomes completely trivial. In other words, this is not the time to gossip about the umbrella issue. What do you mean this isn't the time? I see, I got it. This is probably what Kairi-san's saying. Father is supposed to come here very soon, but the chance still remains that he'll get mad again and won't show up, right? I see. That's true. Maybe Nissan just said Father was going to appear at random in a desperate bid to buy time against our investigation. Father really is dead already, and Nissan is still lying and saying he's healthy. In short, if Father appears, then no schemes will be effective. There's no need to even think about that case. We're fish on the chopping board. We'd have no choice but to leave fate to the heavens and negotiate directly with Father. That means we'd have no choice but to let him clobber us with his fists, then prostrate ourselves and beg for money. But on the other hand, if Father doesn't appear, then our primary strategy isn't hampered in the least. I see. In short, no matter which way it goes, there's absolutely no need to get flustered now. That's it. If Father shows up, we just have to carry out the normal family conference. If he doesn't, we just have to keep on investigating Kraus-san. We can't let him talk his way out of it, like if he says Father's mood has suddenly gotten worse. It seems what we really should be trying to figure out is what scheme Nissan is going to have to try to trick us with. The way he just doesn't know how to give up is something I know better than anyone. If Father is well, we'll prostrate ourselves and beg for money. If it's a farce of Kraus-san's, then we'll continue our ugly sibling fight. It sounds like this year's family conference is going to be just wonderful. Yep. So bad thinking is no better than sleeping, huh? It's almost 22 o'clock. 2 hours till people start fucking dying. Should we press an Iki? Rudolph and the rest looked at Kraus. He was sitting down firmly and looked like he was awaiting Kenzo's arrival with an air of composure. They couldn't tell if he really was composed or if he was scheming about how to tie together his lie. Dear, calm yourself. We won't get anywhere by making a fuss after all this. Let's leave it to Genji-san. It's almost 10 o'clock, isn't it? That was the time that had been set for tonight's family conference to open, and it was the time that the Ushiromi family head needed to appear. Right then they heard the sound of footsteps approaching from the hall. There were multiple sets. Natsui raised her head, relieved. But because of the sound of a knock, her expression was filled with disappointment, because Kenzo probably wouldn't have knocked. Please excuse us. I have finished closing up the mansion for the night. It was Goda and Kumasawa, unlike the powerful Goda. It was rare for Kumasawa with her old body to be forced to work this late. Of course, Kraus also seemed to know that. Indeed. Good work. My apologies for making you work at such a time, Kumasawa-san. Oh, it's nothing. I may not look it, but staying up late is still one of my specialties. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Wouldn't it be okay to at least let Kumasawa leave without being an observer? It really will be difficult on her body, I imagine. The order was to gather all of the servants as well. I cannot disobey. Tonight's family conference was clearly different from normal. On a normal year, no one was allowed to attend except family members. To have the servants present for such a thing was unthinkable. But this year was different. All of the servants were told to attend. Of course, they were not allowed to talk. They were there as observers. Just what in the world was happening that needed to be observed by the 5 servants? Are they all going to pull out a fucking knife? Are all the servants killing people? Including Kuma, Cannon and Shannon, the Kraus is like, at that point, Kraus, heck, at this point, Kenzo would be like, Cannon, you help with this, I give you blessing to marry Jessica. Shannon, you help with this, I give blessing for you to marry George. I'm not really sure what you could offer Kumasawa, Nanjo, Genji, and Goda. But at that point, we're assuming all of them are in on it. And possibly some of the siblings as well. And possibly someone named Beatrice, possibly Kasumi's here, possibly some other people. Even Kraus didn't know. Ho, ho, ho. I don't look it, but I'm good at staying up late. If you stuff yourself with mackerel too, Kraus-sama, you'll be more manly at night. Ha, ha, ha. I see you're still in high spirits. I'm sure you'll be working in such high spirits until you're 100. Madam, forgive my arrogance, but I have prepared a light snack. I can serve it at any time, so feel free to order it. Thank you. You really are considerate. Please offer refills of the coffee to the others. Are you going to poison us? Certainly. After nodding, Goda took the pot toward the relatives, gathered at the other end of the table. As he did, more footsteps approached from the hallway. It was a single set, and it was light. Even before the knock, they could imagine who it was, Cannon. Then again, if it was Cannon, you shouldn't be able to hear him at all. Cannon is like Metal Gear Solid. Solid Snake! So, in fact, you hear it all as Shannon. Excuse me. I've taken the children to the guest house. Good work. Tonight is a special evening. Make sure you stay alert. Yes, certainly, madam. Genji had gone with Cannon to meet Kenzo. There was still no sign of their return. The hand of the clock passed 22 o'clock slightly, so we're a little bit past 10 o'clock. Once sure of that, Eva spoke to Kraus. Nissan, it's time. Are you still not going to start the family conference? The arrival of the guest of honor has been delayed. Wait a short while. How long? Sorry, but time's up. I won't have you saying Father hasn't quite shown up yet, over and over until dawn. How can I make a promise about the time Father shows up? Why are you in such a rush? Why not drink some tea and calm down for now? It's certainly not filled with poison or sleeping pills. Aniki, or LSD. Aniki, we're gathered here for a family conference, not a farce. We'll wait 30 more minutes, but if that doesn't work, you'll let us break into the study, okay? But break into such an action would be quite lacking in respect for the head. Oh right, our apologies. We'll be good for 30 more minutes. I mean, the fact that Kenzo said he'd be here at 10 o'clock and he's not here, that's pretty disrespectful of the head as well. So unless he's just like falling asleep from an old man nap. Had too much root beer. It's like, do you guys like A&W or Mug more? Or Barks? Or IBW? I think Barks and Mug are pretty good. Alright, our apologies. Hehehe. Humph. I look forward to seeing if you can keep that same smile up for 30 minutes from now. So you honestly believe that Father is dead? I have no desire to discuss that now. We can wait until Father comes here. There's absolutely no need for me to argue you down, Nissan. The Ushi family headship will be passed on to the proper person in the proper manner. No matter what you may scheme, you cannot resist. Of course, the same goes for me. What are you trying to say? And after all bragging on these years about the successor yourself, I'll turn your own words back on you. I have no desire to discuss that now. All that matters is for Father to come here and proclaim it with his own mouth. There's absolutely no need for me to argue you down. Right. Kraus casually turned Ava's words back on her. Of course, that added oil to Ava's anger, but it didn't ignite. Because in that instant, the sound of a very loud knock rang out. I thought we said that, both Genji and Cannon were usually very reserved when they knocked. That being said, why would Kinzo knock? They wouldn't hit the door with such a violent string. Oh, right, because he's an asshole. He's not doing it to be polite. He's doing it because he wants to hit things. It was like a judge's gavel slamming down in a call for silence, so everyone went quiet. The door opened slightly and Genji showed himself. Then he spoke with a serious tone different from his usual one. It wasn't the tone he used when carrying out his duties. It was the tone he used when speaking for Kinzo himself. So just by hearing Genji speak like that, the siblings were struck with a sudden tension. Take your seats, everyone. At those words, the dining hall was wrapped in total silence, and everyone hurriedly returned to their designated seats. It was those students who had been bustling around just before the homeroom had suddenly returned to their seats when the teacher came, and it might even have looked humorous, but there was no way anyone would joke about it. Everyone sat in order, and Shannon, Goda, and Kumasawa stood up straight in a row by the wall. The head of the glorious Ushiromiya family and Lord of Rakanjima, the island that sparkles gold, Lord Ushiromiya Kinzo has arrived. Like he's a fucking king. Of the double doors that led to the dining hall, Genji opened the right door from the inside, and Cannon opened the door left door from the outside. And I'll say this. If your parent behaved in such a way as this, I could see why you wouldn't get along with them. This hurts my eyes. Ow. My back still hurts, though. Hello. And welcomed by a respectful bow from those two, majestically fluttering his cape, Kinzo appeared. Kinzo's gait had a dignified weight to it, and it was hard to believe that he had reportedly been at the end of his life. Genji pulled back Kinzo's seat and motioned for him to sit. But Kinzo stayed standing, signaling with his chin for Genji to move back. Okay. Bastard noises. Welcome to Rakanjima, ladies and gentlemen. Why the frightened face, Ava? No, why would I be frightened? I'm just relieved to find you in excellent spirits, Father. I don't trust this smile at all. I kind of see why the four siblings turned out the way they did. Let's see how the other shoe drops. Ava, you're as amusing ever, aren't you? Why don't you just honestly say how frustrated you are at losing your bet with Kraus? You can't say it, can you? Ava realized that their conversation of the day had indeed been leaked to Kinzo, and she hung her head, turning red. Well then, my sons and daughters, and their companions, tonight I shall make an important announcement regarding my inheritance and succession that you all seem so keen on. But first, I must tell you how incredibly disappointed I am. After all, until this very day, no one has been able to solve the riddle of the epitaph. Even though Kinzo said he was disappointed, a condescending smile rose to his face as though there was no way the likes of these could have solved, and solved it, and his gaze passed through all of them. I had planned to hand over everything to the one who could solve it. My back hurts so much. But none have been able to solve it before today, and here we stand with nothing of mine passed down to anyone. How shameful to think that not one among you has come forward with the qualifications to succeed me. How truly disappointing and shameful and pathetic. The siblings hung their heads in silence. Of course, they would have solved it if they could. True, they couldn't deny that they wasted a golden opportunity, but it was just so hard. Therefore, I am proclaiming here now that I will suspend the use of the epitaph's riddle as a method for choosing my successor. In short, time's up. This is game over. And what a shame for you all. Even though it should have given you all an equal and fair chance, that's gone now. I'm instead dumping all of my gold into the ocean. Fuck all of you. And then everyone proceeded to stab him a lot. And light the corpse on fire. It truly sounded like Kenzo was making a victory proclamation. In that case, will my oldest son Kraus succeed the headship? Cackle? The answer is no. What? You understand, right, Kraus? I certainly gave you the title of successor, but all you did was let it go to your head. Do you know what a successor is? Not a disappointment, and that's what you are. And then everyone stabbed Kenzo a lot. It means the person will inherit your position after you, father. Wrong! The position of successor isn't something that's guaranteed by the current head at all. Listen up, Kraus. I won't tell you this again. A successor is what you call someone who finds everyone else who's after the headship, thoroughly breaks their noses, and makes it so they can never disobey him again. This is not only something that can be said of the headship. So you're saying your evaluation of what makes a real man and a real leader is just being violent and abusive, and it's being controlling and gaslighting and having money and power, basically just being a controlling, domineering asshole with no concern for anyone else's thoughts or feelings or well-being. Just everything is my will, and I'm going to be very, very outspoken about it, and I'm going to be very self-centered. So your definition of a successor is a violent, abusive psychopath. Gotcha. It's the same with money. A rich person doesn't mean someone who has money. It means someone who crushes everyone else, everyone who had more money than themselves, and who scrabbles together more money than anyone else. You don't sound like a very nice person, man. It's the same with talent. A genius is not what you call a person blessed with talent. It means a person who crushes everyone with more talent than themselves. You do realize by this reasoning, if we were to go by what you're saying as the basis of morality, if everyone suddenly in this room pulled out a knife and suddenly started stabbing you to death, Kenzo, they wouldn't technically be doing anything wrong. They would actually be behaving 100% in accordance with what you have just described as the most virtuous trait a person could have. A person who can coerce geniuses and all other people to call them that, using strength and charisma. You have a mistaken impression when it comes to all of these things. So you aren't of the right caliber to be my successor. I'll take your words to heart. Perhaps that truly was Kenzo's philosophy. As a result of faithfully carrying out the rant-like philosophy of his, Kenzo had glorified the Ushiromi family to the state it was in today. It may be hard to imagine after his immersion in the occult in recent years, but that brutally overbearing outlook was no more or less Ushiromi Kenzo's charisma and aura. Such an unsatisfactory person is not qualified to inherit everything of the Ushiromi family. In that case, is Ava, Rudolph, or Rosa qualified? Again, no. You were unable to solve the riddle, and you were also unable to use a scheme to drag Kraus down. All three of you managed to do was gather together in united front to try and extort money from Kraus, and even that scheme was thoughtless. You can't even corner Kraus all by himself. There could be nothing more shameful. You lack the avarice to steal away the position of successor by any means. Okay, so you're saying you lack the greed to abandon all morality and to just take and kill for everything you want? That doesn't seem like a good thing to teach people. In order to get what you want, you should sacrifice everything, becoming as covetous and greedy as possible. You know, I kind of see how Kraus, Rudolph, Ava, and Rosa turned out the way they did. The goddess of luck smiles upon the greedy. You three, who don't have the wild spirit, are as unfit for the succession of Krauses. The funny thing is this. Earlier we're hearing about, Jessica and Battler and George all being really pissed off, especially Jessica and Battler, who are expressing that they're very disgusted, that they feel that their parents are so greedy that it's a caricature of how greedy a person could be. And then you have Kenzo here, the person who raised those four, talking about the thing that he's most ashamed of them is that they aren't nearly as greedy as they are supposed to be. Like, Battler and Jessica are so fucking disgusted with their parents because they feel that they're so greedy and they feel they're so greedy that it's disgusting, that they feel like they hate their parents, and they feel like they are ashamed of their parents because of how greedy they are. They feel like it's a caricature that no human could actually be that greedy. And yet the person who raised those parents of theirs is shaming them as their greatest sin, their greatest vice, is that they aren't greedy or violent enough. That they aren't disgusting enough, that they aren't treasonous enough, that they aren't as manipulative or underhanded or deceitful as they're supposed to be, that they're too honest and that they have a soul. By this account, the horrible, disgusting thing that Ava became after getting all the gold would have been exactly what Kenzo wants of people? At this point, again, is it really Kenzo, or is it a goat person pretending to be Kenzo? Is this Kenzo, or is he possessed by a demon? Like, it's just... Imagine being raised by this person. Ava and the rest had no words to respond with, and they couldn't calculate what it was Kenzo was about to say. Was Kenzo actually planning to proclaim that no one would succeed the headship? If so, that would work to Ava, Rosa, and Rudolph's advantage. After all, in the end, they just have to renegotiate everything from among the siblings after Kenzo's death, splitting the inheritance evenly. It would surely be more troublesome if the specific person's name was raised and proclaimed to be the successor, but who would Kenzo really say something to benefit any of the four siblings after demeaning them so much? You don't think he's going to say that because no one will succeed him? He'll donate all his fortune to charity or something, right? I'm afraid I wouldn't put it past Father. The blood's just risen to his head. We can't do anything but let him talk for now. Well then, Father, what thoughts do you have regarding the succession of the headship? Humph. Since I am so utterly disappointed in all of you, I have lost the desire to hand it over to anyone. Therefore, the Ushiroan family will end here. Everyone dies. I'm throwing all the gold in the ocean and everyone dies. You... Like, every sentence, and keep in mind, like, there's the stuff, like, where I'm pretty sure he, kept women locked up in a secret basement and then kept raising their children as his new affair wife person, Like, there's a lot of... Heck, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the absinthe or the green liquor he's drinking is just something that's not fit for human consumption. I mean, pretty sure, I guess absinthe would still fit in that category, but I'm like... I feel like he's got to have some amount of brain damage in terms of the way his personality is. It ends with my generation. That cannot... The Ushiromi family was crushed long ago in that earthquake. The current Ushiromi family is nothing but an illusion of gold I'm glimpsing for an instant, the likes of which will end when I awaken from my slumber. Hehehe. Everything in this world is in a dream, an illusion. Life is but a daydream before the awakening called death. Ah, yes. That's how it was from the beginning. That I should lose everything when I die was part of Beatrice's contract and her curse. Hoo-ha. As if I'd let you, Beatrice. I will be the one who captures you. Tonight the goal will be realized. Cackle. Rejoice! People that I've talked shit to this whole fucking day. If any of you can kill Beatrice, I will give you the successionship. That's where we're going at this point. He's like, hey, if any of you can kill Beatrice, or just capture her and give her to me alive, I will give you everything. So find my random affair wife, concubine person with magic, who is probably old at this point, unless they have magic, which once they're younger, or it's the fact that, you know, Virgilia was the original affair wife that I kept locked in the basement, and then when she died, I raised her daughter as herself, still in captivity, and something with ghosts or something. I don't know. For a while, Kenzo was overcome with cackling, and his eyes bulged. Whenever he talked about Beatrice, it was always both eloquent and insane. Foolish children such as yourselves truly are daydreams. It's as though you were never there from the beginning. Disappear, wake up. Disappear from the doze of truth that I am. You failures that have not built up anything that makes you worthy to succeed me. Kenzo-san? If I may, what is it? My friend. Nanjo nervously raised his hand, asking to speak. What is it, my friend? Kenzo allowed him to. I understand how you feel, Kenzo-san. Because you love your children, you expect a lot of them. And as a parent and grandparent myself, I understand how parental affection can make you feel as though your expectations were betrayed. However, you are an extraordinary, Kenzo-san. A genius. No one could live up to you. Isn't saying that it's only natural for them to catch up to you a little too harsh? Despite that, Kraus-san, Eva-san, Rudolph-san, Rosa-san, and all of their partners have done their very best to catch up with you. Whoo! And just how much money have they built up with this doing their best? After these cowards fail completely their adventures and gain in debt, and still try to sponge off me, how can you say that they did their very best? Money is the crystallization of everything in this world. If you cannot grasp it, then you cannot grasp the world. If a life cannot strongly grasp this world, it doesn't deserve to live. Disappear. Disappear from my life and reality. That's a reckless argument. With that logic, even I must not live. Even so, I believe the time I spent playing chess with you was worthwhile for both of us, Kenzo-san. You should know better than anyone else that there are many things in this world that cannot be bought with money. Huh. Humph. As the siblings motionlessly hung their heads, they cheered Nanjo on inside their hearts. Not one of the siblings could offer their opinion in front of Kenzo in a rage, but Kenzo's close friend, Nanjo, alone was allowed to. Even though Kenzo had raged so fiercely after being admonished by Nanjo, he nodded several times as though in agreement. This surprisingly obedient side of him might have seemed cute, but there was no one here who could laugh. It may be true that your children haven't built up as great a fortune as you have, Kenzo-san, though even so, they're rich enough to make me jealous. But besides money, they have also built up many things that cannot be bought with money. When it comes to that, they are in no way inferior to you, Kenzo-san. Ho? And what do you claim they have built up that cannot be bought with money? Happiness. Family. They have found wonderful partners, had children, and each has built up their own happy homes. They have glorified your family name, and have brought back grandchildren. I mean, technically they have grandchildren, but I can definitely see Kenzo starting to pick apart everyone's relationships. Grandchildren are wonderful. We older people can look at these young grandchildren who will live on into the new era that we will not even be given a chance to see, and in them we can imagine an endless future. Isn't that the sole entertainment we have in our old age? Remember, Kenzo-san. Remember your joy when they first brought back their grandchildren? Your children and your grandchildren will carry your works on to future generations, setting an example. That is something that an individual cannot accomplish, no matter how much money they have. The siblings all nodded in agreement. Certainly Kenzo had looked happy when his grandchildren had just been born, back when he still had some sanity in his heart. However, did Kenzo's heart still contain a human's warmth? In other words, in exchange for the vast riches I created, instead of gaining money, I have gained my grandchildren? No, that's not what I... So in exchange for the several tens of billions in wealth that I have built up, I have gained a single grandchild from each of my children. Ha 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 ha! This is wonderful! So I have created a single life using 10 billion yen. That's how it is? Interesting. Truly an interesting example in the alchemical sense, right? Ooh, what valuable grandchildren. Why does it sound like you're saying that sarcastically, man? Though that does make me wonder, like, how much gold exactly did Einzel Gon spend to revive Shaltir, an overlord? Wonderful, wonderful. Wahahaha. Is that right, Kraus? Is your daughter worth 10 billion yen? Kraus couldn't answer instantly. It wasn't that he didn't have confidence in his daughter, it was because he didn't have a clue what Kenzo was trying to test him with this question. But when Natsui was then pressed for an answer, she responded, breaking Kraus's silence with an answer of her own interpretation. Are you offering to give them 10 billion yen in exchange for their children? Part of me feels like he can't be going that much of a despicable route, but then he might even go worse. Yet yes, Jessica is a daughter I wouldn't let go of even for 10 billion yen. In that sense, I believe she has a value that can't be measured with money. Ho! So you can state for certain that she's worth 10 billion. Ho ho! What about you, Ava? What about your George? Since Natsui had to answer that way, Ava naturally came up with her own answer as well. Even though Ava should have known better than to respond to a provocative question like this, she answered as well. Yes, father. George is worth 10 billion. No, even more than that. And that's not in the abstract sense of money, things money can't buy. George will certainly build up a fortune equal to his worth. He'll become a grandson worthy of carrying on your great works, father. Ava sent a glance to Hideyoshi and Natsui as if she had scored a point. When she heard what Ava had said, Natsui was about to add more praise for her daughter, but stopped at a glare from Kraus. I see. Then what about you, Rudolph? What about your Battler? Compared to George Kuhn, there's nothing about Battler I can brag about. If he was kidnapped and we were threatened with a ransom of 10 billion, I'd feel like sticking a bow on the guy and letting them have him. Giggle. On top of that, he's an idiot and reckless. I hope this has some way in which you're spinning this so that, you actually care about your son. But at least you're being sincere. He talks about grand dreams and things that couldn't be done. I guess in that way he's a super idiot worth the equivalent of 10 billion normal idiots. But I'm sure that guy could do things that even a group of 10 billion average people couldn't do. Well, I'm pretty sure he'll fall flat on his face. The world isn't easy. But at the very least, there's no doubt that watching over his life will be more fun than looking at 10 billion average people. Ava clicked her tongue at that clever style of speech, which would probably match Kenzo's tastes. Especially since Battler looks like apparently what Kenzo looked like in his youth, and they do have some similar aspects of when they're being stubborn about things. Apparently Rudolph had done that on purpose, so he grinned back at her. What of Maria? Well, Maria is my adorable and only daughter. I feel like you're the least qualified. I mean, we've seen some stuff with Natsui and Ava that's been questionable. We'll probably see more because we're not even halfway through the story. But while Rudolph might have some issues with being a bit of a womanizer, I don't think Rudolph, Asumi... Wait a minute. There's no way that's... There's no way that's a thing. Because Battler's actual mom is named Asumi, right? But then Kairi's younger sister's named Kasumi. That can't have anything to... But main point is this. As far as I know, Rudolph never outright was negligent or abusive to Battler. Heck, as far as I know, I don't think Kraus, Natsui, Ava, or Hideyoshi were abusive to their children. Whereas you, 1, where's your husband? 2, you repeatedly are extremely abusive and negligent to your child to the point that your child wants to kill you. Maria actively wants you to die. You tore her stuffed animal up in front of her while screaming at her that her best friend is dead. You're physically abusive to her. You leave her at home for multiple days on end to eat like ramen noodles while you go out and hang out with your boyfriend on vacations eating luxury foods. And then scream and yell at her and talk horrible things to her and say, okay, if you ever disobey me, I'm going to start breaking your toys. So I'm going to tear up your stuffed animal and say, okay, you get me? From now on, if you ever do anything I don't agree with or disobey me in any way or talk back, I'm just going to start breaking all your toys. It's like, I mean, out of all the people, you don't have any right to try to say anything about her that way. One, even if you were a loving mom, you won't really have anything you can claim that she'd be, you know, other than a shared interest and a skill with language and art. But when it comes right down to, you can't really claim, oh, she's my adorable and only daughter, when you are like an extremely negligent and abusive parent. Like, honestly, with the way you treat Maria, who, you know, by the way, is actively at the age of 9 wanting to physically murder you to the point that she's actually going to carry out actively killing you. Let's be clear with how badly you treat Maria. I'm surprised that she either didn't get kidnapped or lost or missing, run away. At this point, I feel like you treat her like you want to come home and find her like she tied a little noose and hung herself. Like, I feel like you want your child to fucking kill themselves at this point, Rosa. It's just, Jesus, I don't think you're fit to be a parent anyway. I think you should be in prison. I mean, granted, I can kind of understand the way you turned out with the way Kenzo is. I feel like you and Kenzo should share a fucking prison cell with the way you guys fucking are. Her value cannot be measured with money. That is all. Huh. I see. Dreams in the future, miracles and possibilities are the source of my magical power. No magic without hopes holds any strength. Heh, I cannot expect any more from you, who have proven to be average. But I see my grandchildren hold future possibilities, and expecting a magical miracle from them may be worthwhile. If you're saying that, in this way, they are worth more than 10 billion. Yes, I can see where you're coming from. When Kenzo was in a rage, he wouldn't let anyone speak up. But even so, he would sometimes accept something on his own while yelling by himself and change his own opinion. That's what this felt like to the siblings. Apparently, even though Kenzo had been disgusted by his unsuccessful children and had cast them away as being unfit for the inheritance of his title or his fortune, he wasn't sure about his grandchildren. At this rate, he might soon say that the inheritance would go to his grandchildren instead of the siblings. As the siblings sat in fear of what their fickle and short-tempered father might suddenly think of next, they carefully watched his every move. Let me change my thinking a little. I have absolutely no desire to hand over all I have to any of you. However, it will be quite interesting to question the grandchildren to see if one of them is qualified. I've always thought of them as mere kids, but there's a chance I'll find a shining gem amongst them that will catch me off guard, and testing them for that would be, yes, it would be a shame to abandon that final side trip in my remaining life. Well then, what shall I do? I can with confidence recommend George as someone fitting to follow after you. Ava claimed that right away. Natsui looked like she was about to follow along, but Kraus gave her a look, telling her to restrain herself, so she swallowed her words. How bold. Then let us do this. I will individually question the grandchildren to see if they are qualified to succeed the Ushiromiya family inheritance and wealth. Father? However, that does not mean that one of you will indirectly receive the inheritance. I am already disappointed in you all. There is no longer anything I have to give you. Not a thing. The ones I will question are my grandchildren, and the ones who might succeed me are my grandchildren. Make absolutely sure that you do not mistake this, understood? I shall obey Father's decision. Same here. I'll go along with what he decides. What about you, Aneki? Of course. I believe Father will make a wise judgment. I will also obey Father's decision. It'd be kind of nice if your daughter didn't just have their stuffed animal best friend torn to shreds in front of them. Like, it'd be kind of nice if you weren't an abusive, violent, negligent, cunt. That being said, I'd imagine, like, if you're in Battler's position and you suddenly got the inheritance, it's like you wouldn't let all these people just become homeless. If you had all this money, you don't need all of it. So, granted, you wouldn't, give them equal shares, but you would certainly make sure they wouldn't, be screwed over in life. But you also wouldn't let them take advantage of it. I shall think of how to test my grandchildren, which means this is no longer any business of yours. After all, none of you are involved with succession anyway now. So right here, right now, perhaps we should discuss a different matter. That does involve you. A different matter? Indeed. That is tonight's true purpose, and the true purpose for this final Ushiromiya family conference as well. I have no desire to hear your thoughts and opinions. I demand only your assistance. Assistance in my ceremony. Your ceremony? Quiet. Father's talking now. Rudolph and the rest had automatically narrowed their brows at the occult-like word. Could he be planning to start some strange ceremony involving Beatrice's resurrection again? And he wanted their assistance? What in the world was he planning to do? In the past, he had carried out many eccentricities that he called by the same name, such as starting to burn a strange incense and filling the whole mansion with the stench. What flavor, what scent of incense? Now here's the question. What if, at all of the other episodes, it started like this? What if it was always the decision to kill all of the adults? So in episode 1, Kraus tries to kill everyone in the ceremony, like this. But could it be that in the first one, Ava and Hideyoshi were asleep? And so they weren't involved. But Kraus killed everyone with the help of the servants. In the episode 2, well, which episode do they live in? In the first one, Natsui lived, right? So, like, Natsui probably went to bed early because of the headache. In episode 2, Ava probably was having a headache and Hideyoshi went with her. And episode 3, it could be that the servants tried to kill everyone. Like, right now, I feel like Kenzo is him and all the servants are going to murder all of the siblings and their spouses. So it could have been, like, in episode 1, Natsui wasn't there because she had a headache. In episode 2, Ava wasn't there because she had a headache and, Hideyoshi went with her. In the third one, it could have been that when they all tried to kill the siblings, it failed, and the siblings were able to fight back and defend themselves. Or at least something happened. I don't know. To the siblings, the ceremony was nothing more than one of the aged Kenzo's obnoxious hobbies. Father, just what do you mean by that? If we can assist you, we'll do anything, right, Rosa? Yes. But what in the world is it? A ceremony as inscribed in my epitaph. A ceremony to revive Beatrice and open the door to the Golden Land. That witch who escaped her cage of flesh and sneeringly slipped through my fingers I shall now capture and force into submission with my greatest hidden art. For that purpose I must offer 13 people as sacrifices. I'm gonna kill all of you. But I'll leave my And that's the thing, at the very start of episode 1, the kids were the only ones really left alive for the most part. But yeah, you're literally saying, hey, not only all of you garbage, I'm disappointed in you and you're not getting inheritance. But guess what? I'm going to kill you all to revive the ghost of my affair partner. Even though I'm also dying of old age. Gathering 13 people's worth of sacrifices is no easy feat, but tonight is the family conference. Many adults have gathered on Rakanjima. There could be no other day on which to carry out this ceremony. Taken literally, it sounded like he was telling them to become human sacrifices for his dark ceremony and die. Ridiculous. Was it some kind of metaphor? But they didn't even have a clue what he was trying to illustrate. The siblings whispered together about what Kenzo was saying. What's Dad going on about? Is this his usual sickness? Probably. Listen silently for now. We're probably all poisoned with, like, sleeping stuff to where we won't be able to stand up properly. And we just haven't noticed that because we're all sitting down. I'm sorry, Father. I don't understand what you mean by that. It's more like we kind of understand, but you're, you know, the implication is something like, oh, it's like, oh, I understand. You're saying you're going to murder all of us. But we're going to go with, I think I don't understand you because you can't possibly mean that, right? What is it you don't understand? I am making this extremely simple. I told you that I'll choose 13 of the humans on this island and offer them as sacrifices in a ceremony to revive Beatrice. Again, it's like, what about that do you not understand? I said I'm going to kill all of you. Even worthless people like you can be very useful as sacrifices in my ceremony. Okay, fucking Griffith. Jesus Christ. Well, I feel like the author of this story was a little bit inspired by Berserk. Listen, this is not a joke, nor anything of the sort. This is my final bet, my final ceremony, the last one I will desire in my life. There are now more than 13 humans on this island. In short, that's a head count that can easily satisfy the massive number of sacrifices I require. Become the sacrifices for my ceremony. Kenzo-san, you weren't serious about what you said back then, were you? It wasn't a joke? Usually for him, Nanjo's face changed color as he stood up and shouted. It seemed this wasn't the first time Nanjo had heard all this dark talk about the 13 sacrifices. Sorry, my friend. That was no joke nor anything of the sort. It was what I bet my life on the final ceremony, the final game that I will attempt. Yes, this is a game. If gaining my fortune and leaving the island is your goal, then there are only two ways to achieve it. Will you escape by being chosen as one of the 13 sacrifices and spectacularly survive by finally solving the riddle of the epitaph and stopping the ceremony? Or will you kill me and thereby stop this ceremony? I will say this. Up to this point, before the whole murder thing, I mean, I could understand them all killing you in anger at that point, but I wouldn't condone it. At this point, it's self-defense. You're literally declaring that you're planning to murder them. And their siblings. And the people they love. And probably their children if you feel they're disappointing to you. Those are your only two options. By now, everyone wasn't just whispering, but chattering and muttering away. Even the siblings had noticed that Kenzo was beginning to act abnormally. Father, are you a little tired? Genji-san, has father been drinking? No. The master is sensible. Sorry, Dad. I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Dad's free to start up any weird ceremony he wants to revive the witch he loves. That's his hobby. But getting wrapped up in that, and being made into a human sacrifice is a little bit more than I can handle. Rudolph, are you trying to interrupt Father? What are you talking about, Ineke? You expect me to listen to something that shady and say, oh, really? Was the ceremony Kenzo had mentioned literally something disturbing, or was it some kind of test to choose a successor? It seemed that Rudolph had taken it literally, but Ava apparently still believed that it was something like a test or examination to find a proper successor. But Kenzo responded with a clear smile. Well then, that is all I have to say. No objections or opinions are necessary from you. I will simply awaken from my dream of having 4 unsuccessful children. To all of you, what will occur now before your very eyes may seem like a dream, an illusion, something that couldn't conceivably be of this world, and a world that defies understanding. But that itself is my reality. Now I will finally awaken from the shadow, useless dream that all of you are. Come, The game has already begun, see? With this, many of you here, I can take lives starting with anyone. So long, my unsuccessful children, and for the final and only time in your lives, be useful for my ceremony. Arise, Pendragon's Memorial Troops! You're calling the Chyster sisters the Bunny Girls? When Kinzo raised his arms high like an opera singer and yelled as though towards a packed audience, the air shattered like glass and the outlines of 3 people who supposedly hadn't been invited to this island appeared. Chyster 45, right here. Chyster 410, right here. Right here. Okay, we've seen these 2 before. But apparently there's a 3rd one. Also, are these the chess pieces of Maria's? Does that mean we're going to have a frog person that plays a lute at some point? Apparently there were 4 bunny girls. Though, was one of them broken by Maria? I mean by Rosa? Chyster 0000, right here, sir. Neat. Nope, I haven't set to that, so we don't. 3 girls with strange forms suddenly appeared behind Kinzo. Chyster 45. A weapon in contract with Beatrice. And again, this is supposed to be Maria's world here. Or is it Kinzo's world? Well, no, Maria's world at that point. Or Beatrice's world. Well, no, that one went back. Okay. Contract Beatrice 45 is methodical, timid personality, as well as a fairly strong persecution complex. Thanks to that, she's well suited to shoring up the weaknesses of 410's rough personality when they work as a pair. She can't stand silence, so she'll often become emotionally insecure if she isn't being ordered around by someone. 45 excels in search and decision-making capabilities. The support she provides doubles the combative force of the sisters. Chyster 410. 410 is a kid with strong personality whose peculiar style of speech tends to make light of people. She likes laughing at people who are serious or can never relax, which is why she's so fond of 45 and Lucifer. Her choice of words may be coarse, but she loves company and gets lonely easily. She gets depressed if there isn't someone talking with her constantly. 410 is particularly skilled when it comes to firing control, and she can wield unparalleled combative force, even in close-range fighting. Chyster 00. A weapon of the Sisters' Cavalry, which serves Pendragon. 00 is their calm and composed leader. However, this is merely the role demanded of her, since she's far more frail by nature. 00 excels, 00 excels at reconnaissance and serving as an advance guard, displaying extreme supremacy and unexpected encounters. However, her excessively powerful fighting strength has been called inhumane, and it isn't rare for her to be lynched and abused when she surrenders on the battlefield. Her one eye silently speaks to that. Okay. Where from? When? Who? Who were they? The humans were thrown off balance and their minds went blank, because they spent all the time thinking they lost their chance to survive. You have permission to shoot 6 to death. I leave the choice of targets up to you. Begin your attack. Unrestricted firing, understood, sir. Thank you for granting us such excellent targets. Everyone commence unrestricted firing. First one in, yeah. Haha. When 410 scratched the air with her finger, a golden bow appeared in empty space, and she pulled its string. The golden arrow that had been ready there was fired off without any hesitation, flew around the room, leaving haphazard gold curves everywhere, and chose not Sui from among those sitting at the table of the family conference, pulverizing the left half of her face. Flesh and deep red blood scattered around, leaving massive red splatter marks on the relatives' faces and pure white tablecloth. Silence fell. Despite the massive number of deep red spots left on the tablecloth, no one could understand why Natsui's head was half smashed, nor why she was hanging her head as though dozing while still sitting. And they watched on in silence. Those sitting on Natsui's right side were silent for a relatively long time, but those sitting to her left were not, because the people sitting on that side had been shown how her head had been smashed open like a watermelon or a pomegranate, and could even see inside her. Natsui? One down. Natsui, is it? A luckless woman to the end. Next. 00 firing. After scratching the empty air in the same way and readying her bow, 00 fired as well. After it flew around at speeds like the golden arrow, 410 had released, drawing a convoluted curve in the same manner. Here's the thing, are they good witnesses that Kenzo was alive if all the witnesses are dead? Or coerced? It smashed half of Rudolph's head in the same way, as he looked at Natsui in shock, killing him instantly. This time, everyone managed to avoid freezing up mentally. They realized that a fearsome murder had started to playing out right in front of them, just as Kenzo had said, and they realized that Kenzo would probably kill even more. Wah, kya! Shrill screams burst out. Even so, they didn't know what to do, so they could only keep screaming and flapping their wide-open mouths like goldfish. Father, what do you think you're doing? You fool! Run now! As Eva spoke, asked Kenzo that in total shock, Hideyoshi, who had come to his senses faster than anyone else, had risen to his feet, pulled her arm from behind. However, merciless fate choice for the third sacrifice was Hideyoshi. Just like the two before him, half of Hideyoshi's head was neatly smashed, and the right side of this head, which happened to be facing that direction at that time, had been blown away with its contents exposed like a watermelon or a pomegranate. This does make me think about the first episode where the people were found in the outdoor garden shack thing with their faces torn up. So, still holding Eva, Hideyoshi slumped backwards and fell down. Still held by her beloved husband, Eva fell over backwards with him. Dear? Dear? Eek! Eva screamed. It was only natural. The face she had been looking for had been half lost, and the crushed skull, the mashed brains, and the crushed jaw all lay bare. 45. Impact. It's a hit. Spectacular. Fire again. 3 more remain. Father! What is this supposed to be? When Kraus stood up forcefully and was about to rush Kenzo, 00 blocked him. With her slender-looking body, she held back Kraus with just the palm of her right hand. He still tried to resist and attack Kenzo, so 00 lifted up Kraus with the nape of the neck and twisted it into his Adam's apple with her thumb. It seemed to be very painful, and Kraus was overcome with agony. How are you talking when your throat's being ripped out? Everyone run! Get the police! An ambulance! Quickly! Everyone, let's escape. Escape! Nanjo's sharp words finally dissolved the spell that had been holding them down in their chairs. When Goda and Kumasawa each tried to escape from the dining hall first, 410 moved in an instant and appeared there, blocking the way. Nihi, you sure are slow, Nya. Do you think I'd let you escape, Nya? Yeah! Help me! Goda-san, duck. Even though Goda didn't understand, he crouched when he heard Kairi's sharp voice. Then a burst of air rushed above his head. Kairi had taken a big swing with a chair to mow 410 down. But 410, still with a mocking expression, easily caught that widely swung chair with a single hand. Tish. What a scary woman, yeah? You really want to go the same way as your husband that much? From the cuff of her arm, where she had caught the chair, something like a shining golden snake appeared, wrapped itself around the chair, and burst open. It was a fearsome power like a vice. When Kairi realized that the being in front of her, which looked like a girl, was actually something that surpassed human knowledge, and that a human could not even begin to oppose, her head was filled with a fierce alarm bell that welled up from deep inside her. Genji, Shannon, and Ken and all of the servants permitted to where the one-winged eagle continued to stand calmly at attention by the wall, even with a scene like this before their eyes, making them look very bizarre and eerie. For an instant, Kairi thought that they'd managed to stay calm because they were with the enemy, and had been given a guarantee that they wouldn't be killed, but rather they've been fucking manipulated and abused to the point that they're all kind of very depressed and suicidal and have no self-esteem and feel they have no ability to resist or no right to resist, and they're like, well, if I die, I die. But as soon as she thought that, the side of Genji's face was blown away before her eyes. Genji-san? 45, impact, it's a hit. Ho ho, Genji, how unfortunate! I thought he was your friend. Rest in peace, my friend. Cackle, your death will not be wasted. You will become one of the 13 keys essential to the resurrection of my beloved witch. Fwahaha, insane bastard noises. Half of Genji's expression that remained was as indifferent as ever. He tilted, fell over, and sent a blood-red splatter out across the floor. Genji-sama were nothing more than the witch's pieces. Nothing more, nothing more. From the meek and frustrated, no, resigned expressions on Shannon's and Cannon's faces, one couldn't sense any naive hopes that they'd be rescued. That's right. Kinzo was, in the truest sense, carrying out these murders at random. In the truest sense, he was killing like it was a game, to see who would be saved and who would be killed. Well, then, who we got next? Who go for next? Fortin looked at Kairi for a second, and that second Kairi was prepared for her own death. But when she readied her golden bow in midair, Fortin was looking at someone else over Kairi's shoulder. So as imprudent as it was, Kairi felt as though she had been saved. Curious about who that hit. Again, an ugly exploding, popping sound rang out throughout the room. Who did she shoot? Ava. I'm gonna go with it was probably Ava. Who was it this time? When Kairi turned to face the direction of the sound, she saw blood gushing like a fountain and Ava lying on her husband's chest. I called it. Of course, her face had been half smashed, just like her husband's. 410 had mercilessly targeted Ava as she clung to her husband's corpse, sobbing. Let go of Nissan. Let go of Nissan. Just stop it, father. Oh, she's trying to save Kraus. Just stop this brutality. Run away, Rosa. I mean, thank you for actually caring, Kraus. You're actually trying to, even though you're like, at this point, you're pretty sure you're going to die. You're like, you're still trying to save what remains of the only sibling left alive at this point. By the way, again, I still have to say, like, I feel like at one point, like, Rosa is Beatrice. I feel like, since Rosa is the youngest child, I think at some point while Kinzo was married to the biological mother of the first three siblings, he had an affair and Rosa was born to, you know, the very youngest person. So that's why Rosa kind of has some kind of memories of that person. But of course, when that person died, Rosa was raised in place of at this point, I think Kinzo did stuff with her, and Maria's actually Kinzo's daughter. So he's both the grandfather and father. And I think Rosa has a split personality from kind of being raised and like being told she was Beatrice at one point. Still doesn't excuse the way she treats Maria. But at the same time, all of this is fucked up. Continue laughing loudly in the blood-splattered dining hall, and she wasn't able to lessen Krause's pain at being lifted up by the nape of the neck by Double O. So Rosa had no choice but to use force. She lifted up a chair beside her and gave a warning. Okay, so I kind of thought that Krause was dying. I thought he had his throat ripped out. I thought he had basically had his throat slit to the point that his esophagus was no longer in his neck. Father, order her to let go of Nissan. Just stop them from doing this. I cannot. If this is what you desire, then prevent it using your own power. Cut a path through to your own fate with your own hands. You who have always hid behind the backs of others in fear. Let me see you overcome your weaknesses one last time in your life. Wahaha. Father? Ah. The chair that Rosa had lifted up swung down at Father, who had reigned as a symbol of terror for her entire life. It was the greatest and final act of bravery and self-control in Rosa's life. I really do. My back fucking hurts. I really do think that like Virgilia, and like I said, maybe there is a separate Beatrice. Like heck, maybe Virgilia is what the original, affair partner of Kenzo was, and the Beatrice we know is the one that was Virgilia's daughter, that was then raised to think that she is also Beatrice. And then, she got hurt but not dead when she escaped with Rosa. And then Kenzo but also Rosa's, Beatrice's daughter or sister, daughter's sister. And also Kenzo, did stuff with Rosa. Maybe she was, sneaking away with some dude, and then he, killed and disappeared that dude. Did stuff to Rosa while she was asleep. And so Maria is secretly Kenzo's daughter, and Rosa doesn't know. Don't know. I had to stand up for a moment, and I'm gonna sit back down. Ow. Oh, my back. What Kenzo had said might have been true. If she had grasped the courage that much sooner, her life might have become more free, unrestrained by anyone else. Then there was a bursting sound. The sound of Rosa's chair fiercely hitting Kenzo. Could not have been this. With the chair still lifted up, she neatly lost half of her head and slumped over. Oh, okay, so Rosa died. I thought she had succeeded. I think that was intentional. Intentionally misleading me. So Rose is dead. So who's alive? Kraus and Kyrie are alive. Still holding Kraus up one hand, Oh struck her other hand out toward Rosa. The golden snake released from that arm and had constricted Rosa in a helix, and it smashed her into her head. Defensive firing. I apologize for the discourtesy of shooting so close to you, sir. I care not. So this makes 6 people. Yes, Lord Goldsmith. This makes 6 people. When she indifferently communicated that, let go of Kraus, whom she had been lifting up this whole time. Indeed. So, the sacrifices of the first Twilight were Ava, Rudolph, Rosa, Natsui, Hideyoshi, and Genji. So out of the initial siblings, we have Kyrie and Kraus, who are alive. Cackle. It was a massacre that happened in an instant. The interior of the dining hall had been dirtied by blood splatter, and the 6 unlucky victims lay with their heads brutally exposed, in a way that was fitting for the abnormal space. Kenzo's abnormal laugh alone echoed out. Okay, that's not updated yet. And like I said, this is like Battler's world, right? So, does none of this update until Battler's aware of it? As far as I know, all this is Battler's world. And all of this is Maria's world. And all of this is Angie's world. Or actually, the first one is a mix of it's Battler and Beatrice's shared world. Main point is people's different worlds, I guess. Ha ha ha, wah ha ha. The curtain has finally risen. The ceremony to revive Beatrice has begun. You lucky ones who have managed to escape the first Twilight, allow me to introduce you to my friends. Arise, my friend. Renove! When Kinzo called Renove's name, the demon butler showed himself midair, bowing respectfully. Pleased to meet you, everyone, and good day to you, those of you I haven't seen for a long time. Poo-cuckoo. It seems this place is once again spectacularly untidy. Pay it no mind. It takes a stimulant of this level to wake me up from my daydream-like days. Allow me to introduce my friend, a reliable butler, and one of the 72 great demons, Renove. I am pleased to make your acquaintance. Just who was he making the introduction to? Kraus and Kairi, who were still down on their backsides, and Nanji, Gondo, and Kumasao, pressed against a wall, could only look up at this middle-aged gentleman as they didn't know in shock. Only Shannon and Cannon seemed to recognize him, and they bowed deeply. So, I wasn't able to greet Genji. I hope he was at least able to fulfill his purpose painlessly. It was an instant death from a direct hit to the head. He didn't have time to feel the pain. Is that so? Very well. Allow me to introduce another friend. Arise, my friend, Virgilia. Once again, a silhouette of someone the relatives didn't know appeared from empty space. She appeared in a refined dress while making an elegant greeting. Thank you for summoning me, Master. Although I would rather not have been ow, my back, summoned into a bloody place such as this. Allow me to introduce her, too. This is both my friend and a reliable counselor, Virgilia. I desire to borrow your great power as the Witch of the Finite. Witch of the Finite. Lend it to me. Even if I tried to refuse, such a thing wouldn't be permitted for one subordinated by the power of your summonings. As you wish, Master. Still, what a fearsome fellow. To think he summoned 3 of the Cheister Sister Corps, then me and even Virgilia. Even though it's only in the area of summoning, to think that he surpasses my lady so thoroughly, how frightening. I can't help but shudder at the Ushiromiya blood. In order to carry out Beatrice's resurrection ceremony, I shall give it my all as a summoner. This still isn't enough. In order to perfectly succeed in the ceremony this time, I shall summon more. The Pendragon Memorial Troops and Renove and Virgilia. I can still call more of my magical power. I can still call many more. Why does this sound like Dr. Seuss? Answer. To my summons, one of the 72 demons... Gape? Gape? You could even materialize her. It probably means that the corrosion has advanced even more on this island. It had already proceeded far enough to materialize us. By now, we shouldn't be surprised no matter how great a demon he summons. Has Rockenjima already been completely sucked into the parallel world then? I hope he does not surrender. He learned a lot last time, correct? You guys are actually having a conversation about Otherworld Battler at this moment. After all this time, he won't surrender over this much. Probably, I should say. Poo-cuckoo. If it was just him by himself, maybe not, but the fact that we have Gretel, Angie, that probably will help us. Well then, shall we enjoy the stage we now stand upon? It seems the main character is the Master this time. Let us expect a script of a different flavor than Milady's. Why did we blue screen of death? When Kinzo strongly concentrated his magical power, a pale light gathered in the empty air and twisted, and a magic circle was drawn there with a deep red glow. Okay. Okay. It would sound like glass breaking. A new demon could be seen there. And my mind immediately went to the side boob. How does that, I can see directly where her nipples would be. How is that not like... And also I see hip. That's nice. She kind of reminds me of, that gambling girl from Danganronpa? I think I remember a video with like a poker face or something like that. Heck, there's another gambling one that has a Gaga song with her. Maybe I'll put those in the playlist somewhere. Neat. And your name is Gape? You did well to answer my call. Gape, one of the 72 great demons. This is one hell of a place you've summoned me to. Okay. Maybe Erika Furude is one of the demons as well? Are we going to get all 72 at some point? Did you call me to clean up this blood-stained room, Goldsmith? The literally devilish woman, wrapped in gaudy, ominous costume, looked at the scene which should have made her cover her eyes and twisted her mouth in a grin. To summon you for such a reason would be like using a cashmere muffler to mop the floor. It's been a long time, Gape. To think that a great demon such as yourself has finally appeared on this island. Perhaps this island is finally submerging completely into fantasy. This all-star cast is even more surprising than the gruesome state of the room. A full 3 Shyster sisters, the great demon Renove and the great witch Virgilia, and even me. What's going on? Is this pandemonium? Are you trying to start a concert from hell or something? I see. As a conductor from that, I couldn't think of anyone better than you, Goldsmith. I will have your assistance as facilitator in the completion of my ceremony to resurrect Beatrice. This also makes me think of the one time, like in episode 2, when he got to go to the Golden Land and all these people were talking to him, where I assume all these people were there, including ones we haven't met yet. You have no objections to my summoning contract, correct? Of course not. There's no way I could resist the subordinating power of the legendary great summoner Lord Goldsmith, who forced the famous great Beatrice to do his bidding. I'll assist you. Although I will of course ask a fitting price. So, what's my first job? Capture the cowards who made it through the first twilight. Fortunately, there are still 7 here, aren't there? Nanjo, Shannon, Cannon, Goda, Kumasawa, Kairi, and Kraus. Ho, if there are 7, all are offered as sacrifices. If these 7 are all offered as sacrifices, that's exactly 13 people. Until it's time for the second and later twilights to be carried out, throw them into the cage of sacrifices? That doesn't seem like you're playing fair, man. A cashmere mop, huh? Understood. As Gape shrugged her shoulders, she looked at Kraus, who was still down on his butt. So is everyone just going to be missing? And we're going to be like, okay, the only people left are Kenzo, Battler, Jessica, George, and Maria. She glared. Then, when she snapped her fingers, Kraus was swallowed up by the floor, as though a round pitfall had opened up beneath him. Ooh, oh, ah, ooh. One down. There was no hole in the floor, but it had certainly looked as though Kraus had been swallowed up by a hole and disappeared. Searching for her next prey, Gape's gaze crossed Kairi's. She snapped her fingers. Kairi jumped back as though repelled. Her instincts had been right. After all, in the place where she had been until a second ago, a round jet black hole had appeared, the same kind that had swallowed up Kraus. However, before she could catch her balance, another pitfall appeared and swallowed her up. Even Kairi had no way of eluding Gabe's capture. Why did that make me laugh? We just need to do wah, wah. Fucking Crash Bandicoot noise. When she snapped her fingers again, a shocked Nanjo was swallowed up by the floor and disappeared. What? 410 let out a short yell and jumped back. This time a slightly larger pitfall had opened, swallowing both Shannon and Cannon, who had been standing in a line by the door. But because 410 had jumped away from the door, the way was no longer blocked. Instinctively aware that he would be next, Goda dashed out through the door. Of course, Kumasawa also escaped with lightning speed, chasing after Goda. As Gape snapped her fingers over and over, round jet black pitfalls opened one after another behind them, chasing them. However, they did nothing but drive the recklessly fleeing pair away and couldn't swallow them up. Goda and Kumasawa had escaped in a matter of seconds. I've gotten slow. I let 2 get away. Don't worry, we are currently locking on to the escape targets. Data link ready. Ni? Shall we snipe? No, I cannot authorize that. They are precious sacrifices. Wait for the Master's authorization. Great Lord Goldsmith, we await your orders. It is still too soon for the coming of the second twilight, is what the source of my magical power is whispering to me. It must not be now. Let them do as they please. It isn't as though they can escape from this island. The source of the Master's magical power is noise and risks and tests of luck. Ho-ho, in other words, it means being fickle, it would seem. Perhaps you could also put it that way. Good work, Gape. Let us steadily advance the ceremony from here on. Well then, that is that. Next are my grandchildren. I will test them to see whether they are qualified to become my successor. Let's see, how shall I test their qualifications? If you decide that they are qualified, do you intend to abandon Beatrice's resurrection? Of course. And despite that, I will test them. Humph. Perhaps a woman cannot understand the contradiction nor my madness. Well, apparently men are as weird as ever. I don't get the very concept of playing around with risk. Oh my, I thought you loved that sort of thing. Of course. If a man whispers to me about dangerous risks and loves, I go head over heels, but only if he's hot. Poo-cuckoo. Be quiet. Try to refrain from whispering. Humph, truly noisy women, but at least they aren't boring. This is what makes summoning so pleasant. All of you will bear one side of the scales of noise and risk in my ceremony. That is the work I expect of you. 6 brutally murdered corpses lay in the dining hall, and it was contaminated with red, gruesome decorations. It was now unimaginable that, until just a second ago, 13 humans had been arranged in a well-organized manner. Kinzo lined up the famous demons and their subordinates and loudly declared the beginning of a night of overwhelming mass murders, and swore to himself that he would certainly revive Beatrice and open the door to the Golden Land. Sorry to keep you waiting. Okay. A now retired Endless Witch and Beatrice's teacher, she used the endless magic properly and devoted her life to the smiles and happiness of many people. Did she really? Did she? Did she now? She taught Beatrice the endless magic, believing that Beatrice would also devote herself to the people, and retired. Though she was Beatrice's teacher, she was also a magician employed by Beatrice's family. For that reason, she interacted with Beatrice in a manner fitting for a servant. Some point to this as source of Beatrice's arrogance and recklessness. I think all of these are the same as they've been. Are they Maria's world, Beatrice's world, Kinzo's world? Like, the fact that dead Sakutaro's here. Or is this the magical world? Like, where are we going with here? Gape. One of the 72 great demons of also Beatrice's friend. When a magician demands it, she grants the ability of instantaneous movement. She uses the extraordinary power for playing pranks mostly. Her specialty is hiding keys and bags during busy mornings. However, in the context of closed room mysteries, this power becomes an ultra weapon that can easily strike a finishing blow. Her queen bee strikes are likely to pierce any and all detectives, forcing them to surrender. Nope, this is not updated yet. Save. And again, I'll try to make shorter videos. Yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. Later.